Sultan, look! Aren't they pretty? I just bought these gel pens. They're so beautiful. Only you can borrow them, okay? Sultan, look! Isn't it pretty? The ocean at night. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. Whenever I think about this story, to this day, I still can't decide if it's a happy story or a sad story. I wonder, what will you think of it? If you've seen my previous videos about my school experience, you'll know that primary school for me absolutely sucked and I didn't have any real friends. But that's not completely true. You see, in the classroom at least, there was one person who always treated me with kindness. There was one person who, even though we were never close, I considered a comrade. This is the story about the first girl I ever loved. If you know me in person, as friends, or even if we just went to school together, chances are you already know who this video is about. And you've probably heard bits and pieces of our story because people love to talk, but not the whole thing. To tell this story, I need to go to the beginning. The very beginning. Our story takes place almost 10 years ago. In the final year of primary school, our teacher assigned us random seats and I was seated next to a girl. She had these sparkly rainbow smiggle gel pens all packed neatly in a sleeve, and she turned to me and told me that only her best friend and I could borrow them, since I was sitting next to her. This was my first interaction with her. I didn't know it then, but that's when it all began. Now, she told me this a few years later, but we had actually been going to the same school since we were 5, but I just never noticed her until we were in the same class together. A fact that she always made me feel guilty for. She was always kind to me, always spoke to me in class, but we were never really friends, or at least I didn't think so. That was until the first day of high school.
Sultan?
Huh?
Please tell me you're in this class.
Yeah, I am. Are you?
Yay! Someone I know! Promise me you won't ditch me. I don't want to be alone. Promise me you won't ditch me ever.
This is the story of how a sultan fell in love with a princess. Her name obviously wasn't Princess, but, well, that was what I actually called her, so it's pretty accurate. Now, let me talk a little bit about what kind of person she was. She was very sweet, funny, caring, and she was very intelligent. I mean, I think we worked on hundreds of projects together. And she was beautiful. Like stunning. She was one of the most gorgeous girls in the school, but she wasn't the typical popular hot girl you see in the movies. She was kind to everyone, but she kept her circle close. And as we grew closer, she let me in her circle. During primary school, when people used to bully me, she never did. And in high school, whenever I'd be walking alone, she wouldn't let me. She'd run up to me and she'd wrap her arm around mine and she'd drag me to socialize. In the first year of high school, I was still extremely shy and timid, so I couldn't help but feel like a pest following her around. So I tried to limit my interactions with her, but she wouldn't have any of that. Every time our class had to pair up, she'd shoot me a stare and partner up with me. Whenever there were parties, she would always ask to go together. Because I was very insecure back then and thought no one liked me, I thought she was just doing it out of pity. But as I grew up, as I made new friends, as I grew to become more social and confident, I realized it wasn't. She genuinely liked me and my company, and I adored hers. I think when I became confident in my own skin and personality, that's when we truly grew closer. We were inseparable, and everyone in the school knew it. If they saw me or Princess by ourselves, they would get shocked because we were always joined at the hip. Not that I would ever leave her alone, of course. There were a lot of thirsty guys in our school who always checked her out when she walked past. I made sure they didn't. I was still pretty shy and avoided conflict when I could, but when it came to Princess, I would jump in headfirst for her. Princess didn't date much, and honestly, I think it was because I scared off a lot of guys. I didn't threaten them or anything like that, but from afar we did look like a couple, and every second question we were asked were, "Are you two dating?" It never weirded us out because, well, we were used to it and we were both very certain of where we stood with each other. We were best friends, that's all. Every time Princess dated, I would make it my mission to become close friends with the guy. I needed to know what kind of people they were. I wasn't just gonna let the most perfect girl in the world date someone who didn't appreciate her. I would usually end up being the middleman and run back and forth between Princess and whoever she was seeing at the time and give advice to both of them and try to help them out whenever they needed. As for me, I dated a few times as well, but for some reason whenever I was getting close to a girl, I pushed away. At the time, I thought I was just scared of commitment, but I still wasn't quite sure. Most of the girls I dated, Princess hated. She was so sweet and kind to everyone in the school, but for some reason she thought I picked the wrong girls and she would usually lecture me about it. I think she also thought I deserved someone like me, and that was something I truly loved about her. I would always lecture her about leaving her homework to the last minute, and she would always lecture me about sleeping properly. So there were a lot of lunchtimes where we would sit in the library so she could do her homework while I could sleep. As we grew older, we just grew closer and closer. I called her parents mum and dad, and she called mine that too. Our parents shipped us together, but we always laughed and brushed it off. The rumors at school also never stopped, but it never bothered us. We knew who we were, and that was all that mattered. Or so I thought. In the 11th grade, I was at a party that finished way earlier than it should have. I'd been drinking, grape juice. Yeah, grape juice. So I wasn't feeling too well. I was walking home when I received a text on my phone. It was Princess, and she was at my best mate's house with a friend, and she wanted me to come over after the party. It should be noted that at this time, Princess and my best mate were seeing each other. And so I hiccuped my way over there. When I arrived at his house, I walked into his bedroom and said hey to everyone, and then flopped down on the floor. We sat and hung out for a little while. Princess's friend was taking Snapchats of me doing dumb stuff. It was a good night. I remember Princess's friend wanted a selfie with me, and then I said I didn't want a selfie with her. I wanted a selfie with Princess. So I turned around to ask Princess for a selfie. And then
I want to take a selfie with Princess. Hey, Princess, come take a selfie with
Sultan? Where are you going?
My mother's messaging me. She wants me home, and you know how she gets if I don't listen.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll see you at school on Monday?
Yeah.
Sultan, what are you doing here? It's the middle of the night. Huh?
I think I love her.